What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Zabun Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah. We are live, y'all. And on today's live, we have to talk about the South Carolina women's basketball team and their continued dominance, really, for the last 10 years. And also, y'all, we have to talk about John Calipari's decision to leave Kentucky for Arkansas and potential candidates for that Kentucky head coaching spot. So, y'all, we are getting ready to listen to John Calipari. He just put this out maybe about 35 to 40 minutes ago, pretty much, sending his goodbyes to the University of Kentucky. So let's listen to him.
Since our season ended, Ellen and I have spent a lot of time thinking about our time here at Kentucky, what it means to us, the friends we've made on that court, regional championships, conference championships, Final Fours, the national title in 2012. It's been a beautiful time for us. This is a dream job. It was my dream job. Anybody in our profession looks at the University of Kentucky in basketball and said, that is the bluest of blue. The last few weeks, we've come to realize that this program probably needs to hear another voice, that the university as a whole has to have another voice giving guidance about this program that they hear. And the fans need to hear another voice. We've loved it here, but we think it's time for us to step away and step away completely from the program. There have been opportunities that have been presented to us, and we're discussing them as a family. I love coaching. I love coaching young people. I love this year's team. I loved every day walking in. They've invigorated me. I love the chase for championships. I love bringing the kids together. It's what I do. It's who I am. Let me start, though. I've got to thank the players and the families that I've had the privilege of coaching because they've entrusted me with their son and their son's career. What they've done in the classroom, over 30 of the guys have graduated, 6 in 3 years. What they've done in this community to give back to the state of Kentucky. They gave all of us everything they had on the basketball court and off the basketball court. And I am indebted forever until the wheels fall off. And I think they all know that. I'm not going to bring up names because if I bring up one, I've got to bring up 50. And lastly, thanking staff, all the people that worked to help us have the success we've had. All the people in the university as a whole, in all the things that they did. The friends, I'm looking right into the camp. We've made lifelong friends that we'll be close with the rest of our lives. And the fans, the BBN, all that you've done to build this program, the people that traveled with us, I want to thank you. Hopefully it was an experience with your kids that you can look at and say, man, this is something that we'll remember the rest of our lives together. Those memories and what we were able to do together is what this is all about. Again, it's been a dream, what we've been able to do. But 15 years, time for another voice. And you know I'm always going to be a fan. Thank you.
All right, y'all. So y'all just heard from now former head coach of Kentucky, John Calipari. John Calipari, excuse me. And y'all think what's really interesting is what he said at the end. That it's just time for a new voice. He said after 15 years, it's time for a new voice. And I absolutely agree with him. Y'all, I really think that, these last 4 or 5 years for Kentucky men's basketball, obviously it's not going to plan. And obviously, y'all know this is a basketball program that's very rich, has an amazing tradition, has won a lot of national championships, and that's what that fan base and the community expects. And John Calipari, y'all, he was not able to get it done. And I do think that they really just probably got tired of hearing him. And that happens, y'all. I mean, it happens. And this is not saying John Calipari is still not a great coach, because he is. But sometimes, y'all, it's just time for a fresh start, right? That you get tired of hearing from the same person over and over and over again. I think they just really got tired of hearing from John Calipari, his philosophy, his strategy, right? His X's and O's. I think they're ready for a new kind of innovative head coach. Y'all got to remember, John Calipari, man, he's been coaching for a long time. And so some of the stuff that he believes in, they are kind of old school, right? Because, I mean, this is a guy that's been a head coach since 1988. So the game is obviously played totally different than it was then than it is now. And so I just think it's really time for them to get an innovative, kind of young head coach to come in here to really get this fan base and that city, y'all, of Lexington, excited again about Kentucky basketball. Because let's be honest, they really haven't been excited. Again, obviously Kentucky has not been bad, but I'm saying the standard at Kentucky is what, y'all, to go to and win national championships. If you're not doing that, they don't really care. They don't care about, we won 25 games, or we won the SEC tournament championship, or we won the SEC regular season championship. They don't care about that, because at the end of the day, it's like, well, we didn't win a national championship, so who really cares what you did in the regular season, what you did during the tournament? You did not win the ultimate prize, and that is the national championship. And for John Calipari, I think it was just time, y'all, really do. It was time for him to go his separate way. It was time for Kentucky to go their separate ways. And I really commend him for doing a thing like this. It takes a lot, y'all, because he easily could have stayed, right? And I'm going to pull up John Calipari. I mean, you look at his tenure at Kentucky. I mean, it was a really, really good tenure in terms of winning. You look, I mean, he had a 410 and 122 record, 198 and 65 record in SEC play, one national championship. Obviously, that came back in 2012. 4 Final Four appearances, 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2015. 6 SEC tournament championships, 2010, 2011, and then 2015 to 2018. 6 SEC regular season championships. So it's not like his tenure was a failure. It's not like he did not win any games. It's not like John Calipari never got to the Final Four. He did those things, y'all. The problem is that the last time John Calipari made it to the Final Four was back in 2015. The last time he won a championship was back in 2012. That was the problem. For Kentucky, that's just not good enough. It just isn't good enough. You talk about, y'all, the last 3 years. I'm not going to bring up the COVID year, but you look at the last 3 years, right? Round of 64, round of 32, round of 64. Not great, y'all. The last 2 years, Kentucky's had double-digit losing seasons. Not good. Right, 2022, they lost 12 games. This season, they lost 10 games. You talk about this team, y'all, has not been to the Elite Eight since 2018. Heck, they haven't even been to a Sweet 16 since 2017. So that just goes to show you kind of how this program was starting to trend downward, y'all. They really were. And really, it's because of NIL. Because of NIL, y'all, it's made so many of these teams competitive. And it really evens the playing field. Right? When Kentucky, when John Calipari first got there, we didn't have NIL. So it was easy for him to get all these recruits. It was easy for him to get all these players, convince them to come to Kentucky. Like, yeah, come to Kentucky because, hey, we're going to win a national championship and you got a chance to go to the NBA. Well, the latter part of that is still true. Yeah, if you go to Kentucky, you do have a great chance of going to the NBA. But winning a national championship, y'all, that hasn't happened in 12 years. So you can't tell recruits, yeah, if you come here, you got a chance to win a natty because, Y'all hadn't even won it in 12 years. And the NIL, y'all, it's made so many teams really good, really fast. You see it in college football and college basketball. You look at college football, look at Clemson, y'all. Remember Clemson with Dabo Swinney? They were a powerhouse team 4 or 5 years ago. Look at them the last 3 years. Been a pretty average team. You know why? Because the rest of the ACC is kind of caught up to them. You look at Kentucky, y'all, men's basketball. The reason why they haven't had the success they normally have, why? Because the rest of the SEC is caught up to them. Look at the season that South Carolina had this year. Look at the year that Alabama had. And we know Alabama, y'all, they've been good, really good the last 4 years under Nate Oates. Okay, Florida's on the come up. Ole Miss got off to a really hot start with Chris Beard. They just struggled in SEC play. And then obviously we know about Tennessee and Rick Barnes and then Bruce Pearl of Auburn. And so I say that to say, y'all, you see why Kentucky has not been to the level they are supposed to be at, because the rest of the teams have caught up to them. Really, a lot of these teams have passed Kentucky in the SEC and just around the country. They passed Kentucky because now they have those elite players that Kentucky used to get back in 2012, 2013, 2014. These same teams, y'all, that used to be bad are now really good, are now better than Kentucky because of NIL. So they could throw a lot of money at a kid. He's going to want to come there. Think about this, y'all. Look at South Carolina men's program. They could throw a lot of money at the kid. He would come there over Kentucky. You know why? Because he's going to feel like, hey, Kentucky hasn't won a national championship in 12 years. South Carolina is a team that's on the rise. And they're paying me money. So why would I go to Kentucky? Oh, because I maybe have a better chance, quote unquote, of going to the NBA, of being a lottery pick. Well, if I ball out of South Carolina, it's still an SEC team. I still have a great shot of going to the NBA, being a lottery pick. And so, y'all, you can no longer, Kentucky can no longer, that's no longer their selling card in terms of recruiting. You can no longer say, well, hey, you come here, we're gonna compete for national championships. We're gonna be going to Final Fours. All you can say now, well, you have a chance of being a lottery pick, but y'all, a lot of these, no matter where you go now, if you're playing well, you have a shot. Look at Jalen Williams, Oklahoma City Thunder. He went to Santa Clara. Santa Clara. He was a lottery pick back in 2022. You know why? He balled out at Santa Clara. The Thunder scouts, they found out about him. So going to a big name school anymore, that really doesn't move the needle unless that big name school is winning. If you're not winning, these recruits are not going to want to come. Period. Just how it is. And I wrote, y'all, Coach Calipari won a lot of games and had multiple #1 recruiting classes, but he only got one championship out of it. Think about all the players he had there. All the players, y'all, from Anthony Davis to John Wall to Archie Goodwin. I mean, we can just keep going on and on. To this year's class that he had, Rob Dillingham, Aaron Bradshaw. You talking about this man has some absolutely loaded classes, y'all. The Harrison twins, Karl Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein, Trey Lyles, Tyler Ulis, Devin Booker. And he only got one national championship. Having all those players, only one. All that talent, y'all, only got him one national championship. Julius Randle as well. Like, all this talent. I only got one national championship out of it. And so when I look at John Calipari's tenure at Kentucky, I would say it was good. Obviously not great. Good, but very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Because, y'all, there is just no excuse as to why John Calipari didn't win at least 3 or 4 national championships at Kentucky. With all that talent, and the names I listed, y'all, there's just a few of the players he had. I mean, we would be here all day and night going on and on about all the talent that he had at Kentucky. And you talking about this year, y'all. I mean, it was just when they lost to Oakland in the tournament a couple of weeks ago, Y'all, we knew it was over then. Let's be honest. We knew it was over. We knew it was over. Kentucky has a decent football program. Yes, they do. Shout out Coach Mark Stoops. I like what Mark Stoops is doing, man. Well, what's going on with you, bro? But yeah, I like what Kentucky's football program is doing. But when they lost to Oakland, y'all, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I knew then it's over. And I know that athletic director, he came out a few days after and said, "Oh, me and Coach Calipari, we talked to each other, and he is going to remain the head coach of Kentucky." But y'all, we should have known it was over then, because you're talking about John Calipari, one of the most recognizable faces in men's college basketball history. Let's just be honest, y'all. He is. I mean, Coach Calipari, he just has that swag. He has a persona. Obviously, y'all know he's from Massachusetts, so he has like that demeanor about him, right? You know, he's from the Northeast, so he has that. He has that demeanor about him. And so when their athletic director said, I was like, wow, I never ever would have thought that an athletic director would ever have to come out and say that a coach like John Calipari is keeping his job. Normally, y'all, athletic directors, general managers, they do that with a head coach that either one is not very good, or two, his or her teams have not played well. So we should have known then it was over. We should have known it was over, because he had to come out and say John Calipari. Y'all think about that. John Calipari, a head coach that a lot of people say is one of the greatest coaches of all time. The AD came out and said he was not on the hot seat. You knew it was over then, y'all, because you don't do that with a coach like John Calipari. Okay, that never happened with Roy Williams. That never happened with Coach K. That never happened with Jim Boeheim. Right? You just don't do that with coaches like that unless you know that the end is near. And I think the athletic director, even when he said it, I think he really knew, y'all, deep down in his heart, that this thing is getting ready to come to an end. And I think the only reason he came out and said that is because at that point, y'all, the tournament was still going on. Okay? Now the tournament is over with. So now he really can look for his head coach immediately. 2 weeks ago, obviously, like I just said, the tournament was still going on. But now that the tournament is over with, they can begin. I mean, he can begin this search tonight, which he might. I mean, who knows? But y'all, Coach Calipari, again, is he still a great coach? Absolutely. But like he said in that video, it was just time for a new voice. Now, I think for Kentucky, it's going to work out well for them. I think for Arkansas, it's going to work out very well for them. We know Arkansas, y'all, very kind of like Kentucky, not on, not on the similar level as Kentucky. But we know Arkansas, very rich basketball program. Head coach Nolan Richardson. We know they did Corliss Williamson. Y'all remember him from back in the day? It's way back in the day. We know their head coach, Eric Musselman, he just left to go to USC last week. Eric Musselman, he had a lot of good seasons at Arkansas. And now, if you're an Arkansas fan, you got to hope that John Calipari can take you to that next level. Because remember, with Eric Musselman, they did go to the Elite Eight a couple of years ago. So if you're an Arkansas fan, you're hoping, okay, hey, well, Eric Musselman took us to the Elite Eight. Coach Calipari, man, we need to be going to that national championship game. Because I would think a lot of us would say Coach Calipari is a better head coach than Eric Musselman. But Eric Musselman got them to the Elite Eight. So, Coach Cal, you got to get us to that next step, man. So I think it's going to work out, y'all. I don't know if I can say, though, that Coach Calipari is going to win a national championship, because, I mean, there are a lot of good teams in college basketball. Now, I've said this, y'all. I don't think there are a lot of great teams. In my opinion, I think UConn is the only great team. UConn is an elite team, dominant team. But I think outside of that, it's a lot of good teams. So because there's a lot of good teams, what does that mean, y'all? It creates what? Chaos. Like we even saw it this year. I would say most of us knew UConn was going to still be really good, but we didn't know they could be this dominant, considering they did lose 5 players last year from that championship team. So we didn't know how great they could be. We knew they were going to be good, but I don't think any of us thought they were going to be this dominant. But y'all, when you look at the landscape of men's college basketball, I mean, it is super competitive because there's just a lot of good teams. Houston, Purdue, North Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Marquette, Arizona, Illinois, Creighton, Baylor. I mean, it's just a lot. Duke, right? Gonzaga, Alabama. Not great teams, but just a lot of good teams. And they create so much chaos. And those teams, they beat up on each other. A lot of those teams, they beat up on each other. So I cannot say that Coach Calipari will win a national championship in Arkansas, but they will definitely be a really good team. And they should be able to make a Final Four appearance. Now, I will say this, Arkansas fan, before I get ready to move on to some candidates for the UK job. I will tell y'all this, though. Coach Calipari, he is 65. So I don't know how much longer he's going to be doing this. So I will tell y'all that this window is very short. You better go to a Final Four in 5 years. Y'all, if they don't make it to a Final Four in 5 years, either one, Coach Calipari is going to be retired, or either two, Arkansas is going to fire him. Let me repeat. If Arkansas does not make it to the Final Four or a national championship game, let me add that in there too. If they don't make it to a Final Four or a national championship game within 5 years, either Coach Calipari is going to be retired or they are going to fire him. Because there's no way that those fans, because Arkansas has a very passionate fan base. We see their home games, y'all. I mean, that crowd is absolutely rocking. Very passionate fan base. There's no way that they are going to be okay with John Calipari not taking them to the Final Four or national championship game when Eric Musselman literally just took them to the Elite Eight 2 years ago. So, again, Arkansas fans, this window is very short. Coach Calipari just turned 65 back in February. So we know that the end of his career is on the horizon. So you got to get it done very, very soon. Okay? You have to get it done very soon. So, y'all, let's get into some potential candidates for the Kentucky job. And I really think it's only 3 candidates that, in my opinion, really make sense. And I know you're going to hear people going to say, well, what about Rick Pitino? Y'all, first of all, Rick Pitino, he's even older than John Calipari. I just told you, John Calipari, he just turned 65. Rick Pitino is 71. So he's going to be 72 in September. So why in the world would you do that? I think Rick Pitino only has, and I know he's a very energetic guy, he only has like 4 or 5 years max. Plus, y'all, Rick Pitino comes with a lot of baggage. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't even got to get into that. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. He comes with a lot of baggage. So Kentucky, I wouldn't want to go down that road with him. Okay, because when y'all had him, that was back in the day. Right, back in the day, from 89 to 97. Since 1997, man, this man has been caught up in a lot of stuff since then. So I would not even go down that road with Rick Pitino. I wouldn't do it. I know I've seen some Kentucky fans on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, say, yeah, let's bring Rick Pitino back. It would, for old time's sake, I wouldn't do it. I'm telling you, I wouldn't even interview Rick Pitino. I would not do it. He's going to be 72, and he comes with a ton of baggage. So I would not go down that road. But y'all, it's 3 candidates. It's 3 candidates. Sorry, y'all. I just never been a big fan of Rick Pitino, but it's 3 candidates that I think make sense for the Kentucky job. First up, y'all, we have Baylor head coach Scott Drew. I think Scott Drew is one of the best coaches in men's college basketball. In my opinion, he's a top 5 head coach because, y'all, you're talking about a man. First of all, he's only 53 years old, so he can honestly coach another 15 to 20 years. But you're talking about a man that he took over a Baylor program that was going through a lot on and off the court. Y'all remember that scandal that they had back in the day. But you're talking about a team, y'all, a program, I should say, that had decades of really, really, really bad basketball. And since Scott Drew has been there since 2003, he's been to a Final Four. He's won 2 Big 12 regular season championships. And obviously in 2021, y'all, he won the NCAA championship. He has a 65% win percentage there. 446 wins to only 244 losses. And he is a program builder. Can you imagine, y'all, with all the resources that Kentucky has, what Scott Drew could do there? He built Baylor up literally from the ground up. Seriously, from the ground up. A program, y'all, that was on the verge of the death penalty. Right? And he built them, has built them, I should say, into one of the best programs in men's college basketball. So I think this makes a ton of sense. Also, the biggest thing about Scott Drew, y'all, that a lot of people like, is his personality, right? He can really get along with everybody. He's the kind of guy that when he steps in the room, he can identify, you know, the numerous personalities that might be in there and say, you know what, I can work with you, I can work with you, I can work with you. Which is great because y'all know the Kentucky fan base is pretty hard. But Scott Drew he has like a really easygoing, laid-back personality. Now, I think that would be great for Kentucky. Because, you know, John Calipari, he's different, y'all. Okay? One, he's from the Northeast. And secondly, he says whatever the heck he wants to say. Scott Drew is totally different from that. So I think he would fit very well with the fan base. And again, y'all, he has turned Baylor into one of the best programs in men's college basketball. You know he could get Kentucky back to being an elite team in men's college basketball because he's done it with Baylor. At Kentucky, he would have way more resources. And he would just have better recruits too. Because, you know, Kentucky, y'all, the state of Kentucky has a lot of great basketball players. And he would be able to get them. And then I think also, y'all, because of Scott Drew, again, his personality and the kind of man he is, I think players will want to come play for him. He's been able to convince a lot of great players to come play for him at Baylor. You know he could definitely do it at Kentucky. Next up, y'all, we have Billy Donovan, head coach of the Chicago Bulls. And I know that Billy Donovan, obviously, he still is under contract with the Bulls, and also his season is still ongoing right now. But when I look at Billy Donovan, y'all, I really feel like this makes a ton of sense for him because, one, I mean, we all feel like that the Bulls are going to fire him after this season. Because let's be honest, I mean, they haven't done anything, right? The Bulls are a relevant team, just a mediocre team, just a play-in team. Y'all, no one even cares about the Bulls. So it really feels like they're going to fire Billy Donovan. When I look at Billy Donovan, obviously we know what he did at Florida, won back-to-back national championships in 06 and 07. He went to four Final Fours, 2000, 2006, 2007, and 2014. He won 4 SEC tournament championships, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2014. And then finally, y'all, he won 6 SEC regular season championships, 2000, 2001, 2007, and then 2011, 13, and 14. I think Billy Donovan is an amazing college basketball head coach. I think he is a pretty bad, well, I'm not going to say bad because he did have some solid season with the Thunder, but he did have KD and Russell Westbrook. But I think he's just a pretty mediocre NBA head coach. But I think, y'all, that's because I think he just fits better with like young guys, like with college kids. I feel like he just fits better with them. Again, kind of similar to John Calipari. You're talking about a guy in Billy Donovan, y'all. He's from New York. You know, New York people could be a little bit different. They normally just say whatever they want to say. They could be a little bit more hard, be a little more tough. I think that fits better with young college kids than that fits with dudes in the NBA that's like 35, 36 years old. Okay, it's a certain way you talk to a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid versus talking to a 35, 36, 37-year-old grown man. Right, y'all? I mean, it's a difference. And I think he just fits better at the college level. I never thought, honestly, it never made sense to me why the Thunder ever even hired Billy Donovan. Because I remember when they hired him, and I was like, it's not going to work out. It's not gonna work out. Not saying they're not gonna win games. Of course they're gonna win games. I mean, hello, they got KD, they got Russell Wilson, they got Serge Ibaka. So we know they're gonna win games, right? Reggie Jackson, we knew they were gonna win games. But I was like, long term, it's not gonna work out. Because I just don't think Billy Donovan is a great fit. I don't think he's a great fit for grown men. I think he's a better fit, y'all, like I said, for young college kids. That's why he had so much success at Florida. And it kind of goes back to the whole personality thing I was talking about with Scott Drew. Y'all, your personality matters, okay? How you can talk to people, that matters. Billy Donovan, you know, he's always been a little like standoffish. That could work at the college level. That's not going to work in the NBA. Because the dude that's been in the NBA, you know, 10, 15 years, he might have 2 or 3 kids, got a wife. You might not be able just to cuss him out. Whereas a 19, 20-year-old kid, you could do that with him. But with a man, y'all, like I said, that's 35, 36, 37, you can't just speak to him any kind of way. And so I've always felt like Billy Donovan, his personality never fit with the NBA. Kind of similar with Rick Pitino. Remember? Rick Pitino didn't have success in the NBA, but he's had a ton of success in college basketball. Why? He fits better in college basketball, y'all, because of the personality. I think it might be the whole Northeast thing, right? But he just fits better in college basketball. Billy Donovan is the same thing. Again, like I said, I never, ever, ever understood why in the world that the Thunder wanted to hire Billy Donovan, because I knew it was going to be a horrible fit. I'm like, this guy is not an NBA coach, and I've been proven right. Again, he's won games in the NBA, but look at the teams that he had too. Of course, he was going to win games, right? With KD, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, he was going to win games, but he was never going to be able to get them to the finals. We weren't going to do that. But if the Wildcats, y'all, were able to hire Billy Donovan, I mean, I would give it an A+. He's an amazing recruiter as well. At least he was an amazing recruiter. Obviously, we know he's been out of the college game for a few years now, but he was an amazing recruiter. We know he's an amazing X's and O's coach. I ain't worried about that. You know his team's going to play real tough-nosed defense because that's how he is. He a tough dude. He a tough guy. I will say this, it will be interesting to see how he would fit with that Kentucky media, with that Kentucky fan base. Because y'all know this, Kentucky fans and that media, they're going to speak their mind. Billy Donovan, he's going to speak his mind. So could there be some problems there? It could. But if you're talking about wanting on-court results, Billy Donovan is your man. Then finally, y'all, and this to me is like the wild card of them all. We have Bruce Pearl, Auburn head coach. Now, you look at Bruce Pearl, he just turned 64. And, you know, earlier I was talking about John Calipari and his age. Well, Bruce Pearl is 64. And kind of like John Calipari, very, very, very energetic. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they coach another 10 years. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they only coach maybe another 2 to 3 to 4 years. Okay? When you look at Bruce Pearl, obviously, I mean, Bruce Pearl's won everywhere he's been. Southern Indiana, Milwaukee, Tennessee, and now Auburn. Now, he does have baggage. We're not going to get into that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. People that have kept up with college basketball. Bruce Pearl does come with baggage. Not as much as Rick Pitino, but he does have his own baggage. He's a Boston guy. Kind of funny, y'all. Him and Billy Donovan, two of the coaches that I have on here, both from the Northeast. Both really tough, hard-nosed, rugged kind of style dudes. But I look at Bruce Pearl. I would like him for the Kentucky job. I don't know if I would love him. I would like him. The only reason I would love him, again, is kind of same thing with Billy Donovan. Don't know how he would fit with the Kentucky media and Kentucky fans. But he would be able to handle it, though, for sure. Okay? Bruce Pearl would be able to handle it. And he would be able to handle everything that comes with being in Kentucky. Because he is a really tough guy. Okay, he's done it at Auburn, and obviously Auburn does not have the tradition that Kentucky has. But I mean, y'all, he's won a lot at Auburn. Went to a Final Four. You know, he's had 5 seasons of 25 or more wins. The problem with Bruce Pearl, I would say though, is his SEC record's not the best at Auburn. Right, he's 90-82. So since he's been at Auburn, he's only winning about 52% of his SEC games. But he has won a lot at Auburn. He has recruited pretty well. Obviously, y'all know a couple years ago he was able to get Jabari Smith Jr. So again, I would like Bruce Pearl. Wouldn't love it, but would like it. I just think for Kentucky, y'all, who really makes sense would be Scott Drew. His age, his personality, his recruiting, his program building. Obviously in Kentucky, he wouldn't be like having to build a program the way he had to build that program at Baylor. But I just really love Scott Drew because, y'all, he could be the head coach for the next 15 years. And Kentucky, I honestly think you get a national championship or two with Scott Drew. Because I think he's that good of a coach. And again, his personality is amazing. He would really fit with that Lexington, Kentucky fan base. And so, yeah, y'all, Kentucky, I would go Scott Drew. It may take a lot to convince him to leave Baylor because he has been there for 20 years. But that's who I would go after. All right, y'all. So now we got to talk about those South Carolina Gamecocks. As y'all know, man, South Carolina on Sunday won their third national championship in the last 7 years, man. But really, y'all, when I look at South Carolina, this is a 10-year run that they've been on because way back, and maybe for the people that weren't watching yet, but I was way back in 2014 in the 15 season, y'all. They went to the Final Four. As y'all know, they could have went to a national championship game. You know, Tiffany Mitchell, she shot a desperation three and almost went in. Almost went. I literally can remember it like in my head because I was watching the game. I was like, please go in, and it barely missed. But y'all, this is a 10-year run that they've been on. And this is one of the best 10-year runs I think we've ever seen in women's college basketball. Because you're talking about, let's flip it, y'all, you're talking about in those 10 years, 3 natties, 6 Final Fours, 8 SEC tournament championships, 8 SEC regular season championships. And then if you want to bring it down to the last 3 years, they got 109 and 3 record. They've only lost 3 games in the last 3 years, which is absolutely incredible. Man, the program that Don Staley has built is nothing short of spectacular. Considering when she got there, y'all, they were one of the worst programs, not just in the SEC, man. South Carolina was one of the worst programs in women's college basketball. And now she's turned into arguably the best women's college basketball program. And historically speaking, y'all, I think UConn, Tennessee, and Stanford are probably the only teams, and Notre Dame too, that can really measure up with this. Seriously. That's not to say there hasn't been a lot of great, USC back in the day, NC State, North Carolina, but y'all, I'm talking about this level of dominance, though. But you are not only dominating your conference, but you're dominating the entire college basketball scene. And that's what Don Staley in South Carolina has been doing. I mean, look at this, y'all. 6 Final Fours since 2015, 8 SEC tournament championships, and 8 SEC regular season championships. So they're killing their conference. And look at this, y'all. 3 natties in 7 years. Or in the last 7 years. I mean, that's amazing. And who would have thought, y'all, this program would be what it is today? As y'all know, the SEC has obviously it's always been ran by Tennessee. If you look at women's college basketball as a whole, it's always been ran by who? Tennessee, UConn, South Carolina, Notre Dame, Baylor when Ken Mulkey was there. Y'all, now it's ran by South Carolina. Now, they're obviously still elite teams. Stanford still elite. UConn still elite. USC is on the rise. Notre Dame is still really good. LSU is really good. But South Carolina, obviously, they are the best team in women's college basketball. And this run that they've been on has been historic. I'm so glad, y'all, I've been watching it. Like I said, since 2014, been watching them. And so, y'all, I want to get into some players that have made South Carolina women's basketball what it is today. If y'all know some of these players, they say, yeah, Zay, I know these players. So, y'all, the first three players, we got Tiffany Mitchell. Tiffany Mitchell, y'all, she's one of my favorite South Carolina players ever. Probably my top three. All right, give y'all my top three. Asia, Aaliyah, Tiffany Mitchell. Tiffany Mitchell, she's always been about her business. Always been about her business. Very tough player, intense, and is a two-way player. Y'all remember when people used to say she was like the female version of D Wade? Those comparisons, y'all, pretty accurate because she's a really good mid-range shooter, really, really good defender, great quickness, solid playmaker. But overall, y'all, she is the one that started this. And that's why I always give credit to Tiffany Mitchell. Because if Tiffany Mitchell did not come back in 2012, because she was the first, okay, let me repeat. Tiffany Mitchell was the first great player that Coach Staley was able to convince to come to South Carolina. Y'all, South Carolina, a program that was not good, and Tiffany Mitchell decided to go there because she saw something. She saw what Coach Staley was starting to build. She was like, you know what? One of these days, we're going to be a really, 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 really great team. And I want to be a part of this. Now, she could have, I'm pretty sure she had offers from like UConn and Stanford and all them elite schools, Tennessee, but she chose to come to South Carolina. And that's why I say, y'all, I always look back at Tiffany Mitchell because to me, she's the one that started this whole thing, if you ask me, because she is the first big-time elite player that decided she wanted to come here. Obviously, y'all know this season she got her jersey retired, which she 1,000% deserved. I don't think Tiffany Mitchell gets the credit that she deserves, y'all, because she is very low key. She doesn't say too much. Even if y'all watched her in her WNBA career, man, Tiffany Mitchell doesn't say a lot, but her game speaks very, very, very loudly. And she was like that at South Carolina. She didn't really have much to say. She was kind of shy. Man, when she got on that court, you were going to know at the end of that, you were going to know who number 25 was in that white and garnet jersey, y'all. Tiffany Mitchell. Man, you are a South Carolina legend. Like I said, y'all, she's one of my top three South Carolina, one of my top three favorite South Carolina players in the history. Next up, y'all, we have Tina Roy. And Tina Roy, she brought the swagger to South Carolina. That's what she did, y'all. She brought the swagger to South Carolina. As y'all know, Tina Roy, or for those that might not know, Tina Roy can rap. All right, y'all. Looks like it might be. I don't know what this is. This is one of like those. I've heard about this. I don't know if y'all can see it. I can see it in here. It's like this a little. I forgot what they call it, but it's pretty much like one of those like bots. So don't pay that any mind. But anyways, you look at Tina Roy. Was she a great player? No. Was she a good player? Yes. But the reason I included her in this, again, y'all, she brought that swagger to South Carolina. She made it kind of cool to be a Gamecock. Like I said, she can rap. Okay, and I know you're like, well, Zay, why are you bringing up her rapping abilities? Well, again, y'all, she's made it fun to be a South Carolina Gamecock. She made it cool. You got to have that swagger. You always got to have that one player on your team that just brings that swagger, brings that energy. That's what Tina Roy brought. Okay, and she was going to hit them threes too. You know, she kind of reminds me of Pow Pow in a way. just with like swagger, intensity, and that kind of like cool, calm, collected demeanor that she had. Now, I used to always love hearing from Tina Ward, y'all, because you know her post game press conference, it was gonna be very hilarious. You know, because she always was gonna say something to make you laugh. And so I think from that standpoint, she just made it cool to come to South Carolina. Again, was she a great player? She one of the greatest players in Gamecocks history? No. But she is, it has to be, y'all, one of the coolest South Carolina Gamecocks to ever play. Next up, y'all, I mean, this was a no-brainer. We got Asia Wilson. In my opinion, the greatest South Carolina women's basketball player in the history. Obviously, we know she got that statue. We know Asia, I mean, is arguably the first or second best player in the WA right now. And for people that don't know, her and Tiffany Mitchell did actually get to play a couple years with each other. So that was cool to see. Asia and Tiffany Mitchell, they led South Carolina to the Final Four in that 14-15 season. But I mean, Asia, y'all, I mean, a dominant player. I mean, she is. What more can be said about her? She's an even better woman. What she's done for the community of South Carolina, and she's continued that. Now that she's with the Aces, man, she's done a lot of stuff in Las Vegas. She is the ultimate superstar player that you want to have because she's a superstar on and off the court. She's a leader. Obviously, I know Asia is very funny as well, kind of like Tina Roy. But without Asia Wilson, y'all, there is no Aaliyah Boston. But because of Asia Wilson, there isn't Aaliyah Boston. So Asia, like I said, the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest South Carolina women's basketball player of all time. Next up, y'all, we got our next three. Elena Coates. Elena Coates, her and Asia Wilson, they were a lot to deal with, y'all. A lot to deal with down low. It is unfortunate that Elena Coates could not play in that national championship game back in 2017 because she was injured. But y'all, she was very important on that run for us. She averaged a double-double, right? 13 points, 11 rebounds. And like I said, her and Asia were the best front court, in my opinion, were the best front court in women's college basketball. Because they were similar, but they brought different stuff to the table. Like Asia could shoot. Elena Coates really wasn't a shooter. But Elena Coates was super big and strong. You know, Asia has more of like a skinnier frame. But Elena Coates, y'all, just big, physical, blocking shots. Then you got Asia, who's more athletic, hitting little mid-range shots. And you couldn't do nothing with them. And I think people really forget about Atlantic Coast because, you know, South Carolina has had a lot of really good, power forwards and centers. But y'all, I think you can make a case, okay, that she is a top 5 player in Gamecocks history. Her resume says it. You know, I think Asia, Aaliyah, Tiffany Mitchell, Elena Coates, and then whoever else you want to put at 5. But Elena Coates, y'all, super dominant. Right? Super dominant. This is even, you know, she had a hard time in her life after her father had passed away. And she was still doing her thing on that court. So shout out to Elena Coates, man. She was the number 2 pick back in the 2017 draft by Chicago Sky. Now she's playing for the Aces. How ironic. Her and Asia are teammates now in the WNBA. Next up, y'all, we got Ty Harris. Ty Harris, man, it was so funny because Coach Taylor used to get on to Ty so much. She used to get on her about everything. But y'all know Ty, I mean, probably the best point guard South Carolina women's basketball history, man. Amazing playmaker. Y'all remember that game back in 2020, February 2020, when we played UConn at home? Ty, she had 19 points and 11 assists that game. I remember after the game, man, Coach Staley said it was for the culture. And y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it was at that moment that I think that's when South Carolina like really, really, really showed everybody, you know what? We ain't nothing to be played with. Because they were already a great team before then, but they were finally able to beat UConn. Y'all know we had never beat UConn. Never beat UConn. Finally, we were able to get that monkey off our back. And not only did we beat them, y'all, we dominated them. I remember that we beat them 70-52. Blew them out. And I feel like that's when we announced to the college basketball world, like, yeah, we're different now. We were a great team before, but now we finna be a historic team. But you look at Ty Harris, like I said, in that game, she had 19 points and 11 assists. But y'all, Ty Harris, really a high IQ player, solid two-way player. You know, there were times that she turned the ball over a little bit too much for Coach Staley. And Coach Staley would get on to her. But, man, Ty, y'all, when she was on, she was on. Right? She could get you about 12.6 assists. She had some games where she would get you 9, 10 assists. Obviously, I know she got to play with the freshies. Man, her and Aaliyah, and that, you know, the only year they got to play with one another, they had really, really, really good connection. Point guard to center. But, y'all, I was, you know, I still am. I watched Ty Harris. I watched her WNBA career so far. Obviously, now she's playing for the Connecticut Sun. She did get drafted by the Wings back in 2020. But Ty Harris, she's remained really just solid player. And she was never a great player, but she was so good, like, for what Coach Staley wanted her to do. Go out there, play make, find your teammates. Hey, be aggressive when you have to. Because we saw there would be some games, you know, Ty would go off for like 16, 17 points. But play really good defense. Shoot the ball when you open, shoot that thing and shoot it well. And this and then finally, y'all, we got Leah Boston, AB, the queen herself, the second best, in my opinion, the second best South Carolina women Gamecock player ever. I mean, y'all, that 4-year run that Aaliyah had, one of the best 4-year runs by a player ever, man or woman, in my opinion. Now, we know what Stewie did when she was at UConn, 4 straight national championships from 12 to 16. I still think that's the best run that the players ever had in man or women's college basketball. But Aaliyah, y'all, she's right up there. Right up there. You talk about her freshman year, probably would have won the national championship, but y'all know the pandemic happened. But let's be honest, South Carolina probably would have won the national championship. You talk about y'all, Aaliyah's 4 years in South Carolina, 129 wins, only 9 losses. National championship in 2022, right? 3 Final Four appearances. You know, in 2021, y'all, they were 1 point away from going to the championship game. And Aaliyah, it wasn't just team success. Obviously, she had personal success, right? I mean, you talking about for a career, y'all averaged 14 points, 11 rebounds, 2.4 blocks per game, shot 54.4% from the floor, also averaged 1.1 steals per game, and was the best center in women's college basketball from the time she entered to the time she left. And she won, I mean, y'all, she won so many awards as well. I mean, Aaliyah is just that girl. We know what she did this year, right? She was Rookie of the Year, was an All-Star. She also, back in 2022, y'all, was Naismith College Player of the Year. She won the Wade Trophy. She won the John R. Wooden Trophy. She won the Lisa Leslie Award 4 times for Best Center in college basketball. So, phenomenal player. We know one day her jersey will be in the Raptors as well, and she will have a statue right next to Asia Wilson. And then finally, y'all, we had the last 3 players, and I'm going to be up out of y'all's way. Alicia Gray. Wow. Y'all, she really, really, really fun personality. She's always laughing, always smiling. And Alicia Gray on that 2017 national championship run, y'all, with Atlantic Coast being out, what did Alicia Gray do? She stepped up and was balling. Okay, Alicia Gray was balling. And South Carolina needed it. They needed every bit of what Alicia Gray did. Because again, remember, there was no Atlantic Coast. So we knew what Asia was going to do, but we needed Alicia Gray to bring it. And she absolutely did. You know, she's had a really good WNBA career. Got drafted by the Wings. Now she's playing for my Atlanta Dream. But Alicia Gray was a player, and when she was on, she was on. She was inconsistent as a three-point shooter, but man, when she was on, she was on. Super athletic, really good defender. You know, she's big too, has a lot of size and length. And man, y'all, just a really, really good player. Really good player. And like I said, South Carolina's not winning that 2017 national championship without Alicia Gray's contributions, you know, in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four. Because y'all don't know, y'all remember that Sweet 16 game, y'all, we played Quinnipiac. And at that point, Quinnipiac was a really, really, really good team. Right? They were one of them smaller school teams that came out of nowhere, a really good team, and she went off in that game. Next up, y'all, we have Kayla Davis, who was also a part of that 2017 national championship team. And Kayla, I think she was the leader on that team, especially in terms of vocally. Because, you know, Asia and Alicia Gray, not the loudest of girls, but Kayla Davis was, y'all. She was kind of, I feel like she was an extension of Coach Staley. And I know, you know, during that run, she had some, you know, iffy games, probably didn't perform the way she wanted to. But again, her vocal leadership was key. You know, she would constantly be in Alicia Gray and Asia's ear. And we needed that. She also, like Alicia Gray, was a really good defender. So I remember that during that run, her defense was really, really, really good, which is important, y'all, because it's two sides of the ball. It's offense and defense. Her defense was really, really great during that run. Obviously, you know, she only got to play for us for 1 year, but in her 1 year, she was very impactful. And yeah, Kayla Davis, I mean, I remember there'd be times where I was mad at her because I'm like, Kayla, come on, we need you to be better offensively. But then she would, you know, lock up the opponent's best player, and I would be so happy. So I was like, hey, Kayla might not be having the best offensive night, but she always brought it on the defensive end, y'all. And then finally, a player that was a fan favorite, Bianca Cuevas Moore. Y'all remember her? Man, Bianca Cuevas Moore, not the biggest, not the fastest, not the most athletic. Tough as nails, though, y'all. She did not let her size be a deterrent to her in any kind of way. Good shooter. Could pass the ball decently well and was going to compete defensively. Also, she was a really good free throw shooter. But yeah, y'all, she was going to compete defensively. She was going to get everything she had. She had 12 steals during that during the 6 games in the 2017 tournament, y'all, the most ever by a Gamecock in a single NCAA tournament. It's like I told y'all, she competes defensively. She did. She was going to compete defensively. And I think because of that's why she became a fan favorite, because y'all, she's only 5'5". But we saw her getting after, and we really appreciate that. Y'all know how it is. You know, when a player is like really short, but they're still going out there competing, playing with great energy and effort, the crowd's gonna love that. Because it's like, yeah, I know I'm short, but I'm not gonna let that stop me. And Bianca Cuevas Moore did not do that. And also, y'all, the reason I put her on this list is because she was a good mentor for Ty Harris. I think Ty, man, she got to learn a lot from Bianca Cuevas Moore. She learned what it meant, y'all, to be a point guard at the collegiate level. And I think that's why Ty has had the success she's had in WNBA so far, being a really solid player, because she learned from Bianca Cuevas Moore. You know, Bianca was never going to be your star player. She's never going to be the best player on the team. But she was going to be a player that you absolutely needed in the locker room and on the court. You got to have players like her, y'all, that's willing to get it done, even with her limitations. Like I said, she's not the biggest, she's not the fastest, not the most athletic, but she still went out every single game, played her heart out. So, y'all, those are my 9 players that I think made South Carolina women's basketball what it is today. Without these 9 players, I don't think this program would be as dominant, man. Once again, y'all, shout out to Coach Staley and the entire Gamecock program. And also shout out to these former players for the foundation that they laid. If y'all seen it or not, man, a lot of former players very excited. Tina Ward, she was very excited. Asia, Zai Cook, Letitia Me here, because they know they have a big part in this, y'all. Let's be honest, they do. You always got to remember the players that came before you. Okay, the players that were here when the times were still tough. There were a lot of tough times for South Carolina. So you got to acknowledge those players as well. And so South Carolina's going to continue to be great in everything they do, y'all. Coach Staley, the entire coaching staff, the team on and off the court. You know, it takes a lot, y'all. When you have been on this run, this 10-year run that they've been on, it takes a lot of people. All right, so even some people that might not even get recognized, some people that we don't even know about, but they've also played a part in this. South Carolina's going to continue to be an elite and dominant program. Y'all, before I get up out here, I want to say, y'all know that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, I think I had said that I have USC in the national championship game next year, because I just think Juju is that girl. And I think, y'all, they're really finna add a lot of talent via the transfer portal and with their recruiting class they're bringing in. Y'all, I think the other spot, I still don't know yet. I think it's going to be between South Carolina. It's going to be between UConn. It's going to be between Notre Dame. Those are 3 teams, and Stanford, 4 teams. And then we got to see with LSU, because LSU don't got a point guard right now. But right now, I would say USC, definitely in, and then the other spot is between South Carolina, Notre Dame, Stanford, and UConn. But yeah, y'all, I cannot wait for next season in women's college basketball, because we know it's going to be fantastic. Once again, y'all, this might have been the best women's college basketball season we ever seen, just because of all the star players were from Paige Beckers to Hannah Hidalgo to Juju Watkins to Kaylin Clark to Cameron Brink to Adi Crooks to Ayoka Lee to Madison Booker to Rory Harmon to Maddie Westbar. I mean, y'all, the list goes to Malaysia Fort Wiley. I mean, it's just so many talented players, so many great teams, from Ohio State to South Carolina to UConn to Stanford to NC State to LSU, teams on the rise like Ole Miss and Colorado and Kansas State. You know, and some teams this year, y'all, this coming up season is going to be on the rise like Kentucky. And so women's college basketball has, in my opinion, has never been in a better place, y'all. It is just in an amazing place right now with amazing players, amazing teams, and amazing coaches. So there y'all have it, y'all. That is me discussing John Calipari's decision to leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas, and also the potential coaches for the Kentucky job. And then also, y'all, discussing South Carolina, this 10-year historic run they've been on, and players that have made South Carolina what it is today. Thank you to everyone that tuned in on the live today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, y'all, earlier, I want to let you know before I get up out of here. Earlier, I did post 2 videos. It was Chicago Bears 7-round mock draft and the Washington Commanders 7-round mock draft. I posted the other day in the community tab that that's something I want to start doing. Well, y'all, here you go. You know, first 2, the Bears, the Commanders. You know, I got obviously the Patriots and Cardinals, all those teams on the way as well. Also, y'all, later this week, maybe even tomorrow, don't know yet, maybe tomorrow, gonna have some WNBA scouting reports coming out, because y'all know I'm a big fan of the WNBA and cannot wait for the draft next week. So yeah, I'm gonna have some of those players, their scouting reports coming out. And yeah, y'all, just a lot of stuff going on. Y'all know in a couple weeks we got the NFL draft. NBA playoffs is right around the corner as well. So even though the college basketball season is over with, and we're kind of sad about that, we still have the NBA, we still have the WNBA draft, and got the NFL draft. Remember, laughter is good medicine, so make sure you get your daily dose. Y'all know I'm in it, man. I love y'all. God bless. Peace.